an hour. So we'll see how we go. All right, but I don't take for granted ever. This is the 29th year where I've stood up here and inducted people into the Walk of Fame. And it's real special, you know. We have a lot of names, what I call the royalty in the house. I'm going to call them out. They're all out there in the audience. L.J. Richards, U.S. champ. The Weezer Girls, Brenda Scott, Jericho, Shannon Eichman. Local legend Chuck Lennon. Morgan Boozer representing her husband. A hero of mine, Paul Strow, right here. The Greek, Bob Boland, legend on Main Street. Coach Andy Vadone has already been mentioned today. Two-time U.S. champ Brett Simpson right here in the... Duke Iper for his dad, Ben. Mike Downey. Up there in the back row, Randy Lewis. Meg Bernardo. David Nueva right here in front of me. And I think I see a Brown family back up there. I see Dana Brown waving at me up there for his dad, Bruce Brown, who gave us the Endless Summer. So let's get on with this, right? Yeah. Who did I miss? Oh, Herbie Fletcher. I didn't see you come in late, mate. Another hero here in Huntington Beach. Alima. Well, he hasn't been voted in yet, but he's got close. I said we were already, mate. This is a really special one to start off. I've known this kid since he was just a grommet, surfing for, I think it was the Billabong team originally, right, mate? The Billabong team, yeah. And unfortunately, we all know the story where he took a wipe out, his head hit the sand and was paralyzed. And since then, he's been a testament to a will to overcome, and he founded Life Rolls On, and we will surf again. And it's pretty incredible to think what he's done in that time, in that he's won 3 Adaptive ISA World Championships. He's been in the ESPYs on ESPN, which you can see right here, his little ESPY thing, right? Yeah, I didn't forget my laminates. These are my cue cards. And it's my great pleasure to bring Jesse Billauer up here to accept honor.
Up here, just bear with me. I just want to say thank you so much for coming out here today to support the Huntington Beach Surfing Walk of Fame. You know, I mean, today I'm going to call it the Roll of Fame. So I guess it's only fitting that I'm on the honor roll, because I do roll. I know that's why. They put me on that one. But, you know, I started surfing in 1988 in Santa Monica at Bay Street because of my friend Brendan Hearn and his dad, John Hearn. And in 1991, Paul Gomez with Billabong saw something special in me and introduced me to Bob Hurley, which turned out to be so much more than just a sponsorship. Bob turned into a huge mentor and inspiration to me, and I am where I am because of Bob, because he truly believed in me. He sponsored me for 30 years.
Unreal.
And his sons are here today. You know, I'm grateful for the NSSA and the WSA for giving us a platform as kids to do what we love and to compete against the best surfers around. I want to thank my idol. You know, everyone said when I was young, I used to have the style of Shane Dorian, and he was the guy that I just wanted to copy. I wanted to copy him so bad that when I was in Hawaii one year, staying at the Billabong house, I stole his wetsuit. And I wouldn't surf in front of the house because he would see me, so I took it to other spots, and I really just thought I would surf a little better, like surf like him more if I wore his wetsuit. So I told him that story later on, and I said, "I'm sorry I stole your wetsuit." I was like, "I'm sure you have a lot more, but that one looks so nice." And I'm honored. Back in the day, I was honored to be on the USA surf team, having the opportunity to travel to Bali, Tahiti. We surfed a place called Chopu before it was really Chopu. And yeah, it wasn't as big as what they do now, but it was still Chopu, bro. At the age of 16, I became a state lifeguard after doing my training classes right here at Huntington Beach. And I ended up working up in Malibu at Point Magoo with Norm Chapman. And as a 16, 17-year-old, I was one of the youngest kids ever to be a lifeguard. And just a great opportunity to be on the beach, learn more about the ocean. I love that junior darts program. Let's give it up all lifeguards. But it was a month before my 17th birthday, you know, that really changed my life forever. March 25th, 1996. It was the last time that I walked into the ocean and surfed, you know, as an able-bodied person. It's the last time I stood up on a surfboard. I just want you to take a moment to think about that. The last time I ever walked, I walked into the place we all love, the ocean. The ocean has brought us all so many of our fondest memories. And for some of us, there's just one memory that we would do anything to erase. But we can't. We can't take it back. My heart was broken, and when I was only 17 years old, what was I going to do with my life as a C6 quadriplegic? You know, I was a young kid in a wheelchair who has to depend on a caregiver 24 hours, 7 days a week. When just a week before that, I was traveling to Costa Rica, Mexico, Hawaii. And now, I was in a wheelchair, not knowing my future, not knowing what I was going to be able to do or not be able to do. Was I going to be able to surf again? Was I ever going to have kids, go to college, be in a big feature film movie? All those dreams is what I wanted as a kid. When this happened to me, I couldn't even imagine my life without surfing. I told my dad, I'd rather be dead than be paralyzed. I couldn't live without it. I just want to thank the two guys that saved my life. one of my friends growing up, both of them growing up, Brett Sanson, Brad Stanley. Those are the two guys that pulled me out of the water when I broke my neck up at Suma Beach. It's weird because my middle name is Brad, and one of the guys who saved my life is Brad. And yeah. When I was in the hospital, Kelly Slater came to visit me, and I just felt really special. You know, it felt like, here it is, best surfer in the world, visiting this kid, and I felt really good. 3 years later, in 1999, Rob Machado and some of my friends took me out on an adapted surfboard custom made by Al Merrick, and we surfed Cardiff Reef. I was nervous. I was scared. The waves were like this big, but when you're laying down on your stomach, everything else looks a lot bigger. And I was telling Rob Machado what to do at Cardiff Reef. He was laughing at me like, bro, this is my spot. I go, I know, I have to say something. I also want to thank everyone at Channel Islands Surfboards for making all my boards after my injury. They even have a Jesse Billauer adapted surfboard model so that people that are in wheelchairs or people with disabilities can order a board just like me.
Right on.
And in 2001, I started Life Rolls On, an organization created to give an opportunity to people living with various disabilities to surf and feel the freedom of riding waves and being out in the ocean with nature and enjoying the wind and the water just splashing on their face. An opportunity to get out of their wheelchairs and just feel free from the pain, the struggles, and the daily grind of being confined to a wheelchair. Some of them have never been in the ocean, some have never ridden a wave, and the smiles that you see just goes to show you how special and how much the ocean means to not only the able-bodied community, but the disabled community. And it's nice to see, you know, the Moby mats and the access to the beach, because the beach is for everybody. Life Rolls On's first event was at Topanga State Beach on September 11th, 2001, when the Twin Towers were going down. I was at my house watching the news in the morning, figuring that the event was going to be canceled, but we went to the beach, and I was shocked. I saw Laird Hamilton, Gabby Reese, Kelly Slater, Ross Williams, Dan Malloy, Tim McCurran, Taj Burrow, all them there to come support us for our first event. And that event was called They Will Surf Again. And thanks to Richard Yellen, who believed in Life Rolls On, he had this little program going up and down the coast, and we teamed up, and he passed the reins over to me, and we've been doing these events for the last 20 years. I remember right around 2002 era, I was approached at the Surfer Pull Awards from what I thought was a legend. And he is a legend, but after a couple drinks, I figured, why are you coming up to me, buddy? He came up to me and said, you know what? You're a huge inspiration, and I want to put you in my movie. And I'm like, really? Like, wow. Step Into Liquid.
My favorite.
This movie reached so many people around the world, and it was the first movie to showcase adaptive surfing on the big screen. I owe so much gratitude to Dana Brown.
Amen.
Yeah, man, he put me in a movie with all the top surfers in the world. His vision opened the eyes of people around the world saying, oh my God, you can surf being paralyzed? So thank you, Dana.
Amen. Right on.
People still come up to me and say, oh man, you were that guy in Step in Liquid. And I was like, yeah. But it was because of Dana. And in 2009, a documentary movie on my life came out called Jesse's Story from Mark Jacobs, and that was an honor as well. For almost 10 years straight, from around 2003 to 2013-ish, 14, the U.S. Open of Surfing had a beautiful partnership with Life Rolls On, in which they invited me to put on a hand-selected adaptive surfing expression session just before the finals on finals day for 10 years straight. The amount of people that witnessed that and became inspired was incredible. It opened so many doors for Life Rolls On. I just want to thank the U.S. Open for believing what we did and allowing us to have a booth, and for letting us surf before the final. I mean, my dream was to be a professional surfer, and now I was in one of the biggest events in North America. And so, thanks to the U.S. Open. I'm not saying anything, but I think we were replaced by a longboard expression session. But it's all good, Joel. We'll talk about it. I'll put them in a chokehold. And in 2015, mind you, this is about 17 or 18 years after my injury. It was the first ever Adaptive Surfing World Championships in La Jolla. I became, on the first one, that was my first World Adaptive Surfing World Championships. And I just want to say thanks to Evan Slater and Rob Machado for carrying me up on the beach like they do all the pros. But let me just tell you, you're only an inspiration because of the people that you surround yourself with.
Amen.
And for me in particular, because I'm paralyzed, it takes a team. Like, I couldn't just go surf by myself. I couldn't just go do things by myself. And so I'm only an inspiration because of my help. And I just want to say thanks to my friend Jesse Baxter, who is my pusher, who pushes me into the waves, and we have a great connection. Because every time he pushes me, man, it's like, never know if I'm gonna be able to get another wave or not, because we've done some crazy stuff and surfed like 10 to 15 foot faces at Sunset Beach. And I've broken a few femurs doing that, but I went back and did it again. But finally now I've kind of retired on big waves, and I love surfing the Pellet Wave Pool and some other perfect little waves. And I just want to say thanks to Fernando Aguirre, because he's the ones that put on those ISA events.
Fernando!
And he also hooked me up when I was a kid with reef sandals and shoes at the ASR trade show. And in 2017, I was blessed with twin boys that love the ocean lifestyle and they're actually in surf camp all summer long learning how to surf. And no matter what I've done in the past or what I do in my life in the future, the two greatest accomplishments and gifts to me in my life are my twin boys that are right here. I always knew that my first child would be named after my idol, so the first one that came out is Dorian, and the other one's Nakoa, which means brave warrior in Hawaii, and he actually loves surfing, so I love you, little boys. Stop giving me a hard time all the time. You have a cool dad, so don't be hard on me. And in 2020, I won my second world championship, and that was just a few days before, COVID happened, and, the world shut down, and yeah, that was a tough time. And now I'm a 6-time USA National Adaptive Surfing Champion.
Woo!
I feel like such a douche talking about myself. I wish this guy would have like said those couple of things so I don't have
You're
to
an
mention it.
inspiration.
Or maybe he did. Looking forward, seeing the growth of the sport of adaptive surfing, and I have no doubt that because of what we've done in the past, that there's going to be like an AWSL, an Adaptive World Surf League, and a tour that travels all around the world just like this one. I just want you to know that inspiration sells. And I challenge the surfing community as a whole to look real deep into their hearts and realize the value in sponsoring adaptive surfers. What we do isn't easy, but it sure is inspiring. My hopes are that adaptive surfing makes it to the Paralympics in 2028.
Yeah.
Let's start marketing these inspirational athletes now. You would be honored to have them represent your brand.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes.
I'm looking for a sponsor. Brett Simpson. Or Florence. You guys can bid for me. I'm so young. So I encourage you to take a look at the Life Rolls On website and how you can get more involved. And if you are in a financial situation where you can donate money, just know that your money is going to be putting on adaptive surfing, skateboarding, and fishing events all around the country.
Awesome.
And it brings hope, happiness, confidence, inspiration, and it makes dreams become realities in the lives of people living with various disabilities around the world. I want to say thanks to my dad, my mom's husband, my caregiver, and everybody that helps me on a daily life. Like, whether it's, the coach of the LAFC, Steve Trundle, for getting me tickets, to bring my kids, to everybody who has a part with Life Rolls On, all the volunteers, all the people that show up. I have volunteers here. Raise your hand. You guys come to all the events. They run all the teams. We actually have an event August 26th at 9th Street here in Huntington Beach, and we'd love to see you guys there. It's going to be happening just almost across the street. But just remember, tomorrow is never guaranteed. You really got to enjoy your life, be thankful for where you're at, give back to the less fortunate. You never know when that could be you.
That's right.
I didn't know that tomorrow, one day, I was going to break my neck, and I did. And now I'm trying to help out and give back to the communities around the country by doing Life Rolls On. And life's not easy. It's just not easy being in a wheelchair. And sometimes I have to put a smile on my face to be that inspiration. But you know what? We all have bad days. We all are able to have bad days. Just how you pick yourself up and what you do with your lives. People say, I could never do what you do, Jesse. And if you remember, I told you that I'd rather be dead than be paralyzed. But when something does happen to you, just figure out what you love. Find out what your passion is and follow it. Please. Be kind to people. You never know what they're going through.
That's right.
People could see me in a wheelchair, so they open up the doors for me. But a lot of people are struggling inside, that are walking, that are able-bodied, that have everything. It's up to you as friends, strangers, to tell them, how you doing? Have a good day. Be there for somebody. Open the door for somebody. Because that one little moment can change the trajectory of their lives forever. And I just want to say thanks to the people that helped me go from being paralyzed at home to being a multi-world champion, to starting a foundation, to giving back, and to being in a feature film movie, to graduating college, to having twin boys. Hey, I'm paralyzed. What's your excuse?
Your dreams
Thank you.
come true. Right on. Thank you. Thank you so much. Being such an inspiration. Thank you.
Wow. Put some pressure on everybody else to follow, right? What's your excuse? Okay. Our number 2 inductee. You know, I love to do my little lamination. So look at this studly guy in this one right here. Our next inductee, not too many people know or remember this, but in 1967, he was the tandem champion out here at the US Open of Surfing. And of course, he was on the cover of Surfer magazine in the early days of Surfer magazine, and of course, opened one of the most iconic surf shops in California, Hanson's, down on PCH and Encinitas. We've all stopped there. It's my great pleasure to bring Don Hanson up on stage.
Mind terribly if I just said welcome. Amen to that.
Well, I think today is the day that I thought would never come. And I'm not sure if I'm really suited for this honor anyway. So I guess I'd just like to say thank you for all you the people that have helped get me here, and I think it's a great day today, so thank you very much.
And I'd also just like to say a quick thank you to Ron and Bob for helping with Don to get inducted in the Walk of Fame. He actually recently had a fall and is kind of fighting post-concussion syndrome, so normally he's a little more long-winded, but again, I wanted to say thanks to the Jacks boys and thanks for everyone that comes to the
So we do one other special thing, and I'm not sure if Don's going to hang around for lunch. But Nixon does these beautiful engraved watches, and each inductee gets one, and so I'm going to give Don his right now. Okay, now let's have some fun. Does it get any more local than Chewy Madrigal? Like this OP ad says, outrageous. I've known my mate Chewy Madrigal from the first times I got here in Huntington Beach in the 70s. The Bronze Aussies actually lived down the street from him and Marilee on Huntington Street back in that time. And Chewy's been part of our culture here in the water, screaming down hills, trying to set world records in the skateboarding. And everyone doesn't realize that the US Open out here right now that's going on, when we founded it in 1984, he did for Prime Ticket and Don Meek the illustration that started the US Open. And I know that's one of the things that he's really proud of, but I'm going to let Chewy tell the rest of the story.
Hi everybody, I'm glad you're all coming here to join us in these festivities. I got my family here, my grandchild. I've got children, Blake, who is a very gifted person that just graduated from Columbia University. And her sister, Raylan, who happened not to be here because she's already practicing for the season in UCLA. So they're all very gifted young women. I got here my ex-wife Marilee, who owns Marilee Swimwear, and my daughter Felicia. They're all pretty ladies. So I've always been blamed to being a little bit long-winded, but I guess that's the way it is. It is what it is. In Huntington Beach, actually I got a friend of mine here, Herbie Fletcher, and he knows that we were sort of a little bit rough around the edges for the people that like to surf to the pier. So, also another friend of mine here, who he kind of told me this story about back in the old days. He was asking him, another friend of ours about was it hard or what about surfing the pier? So he says, my other friend, Don Meek, who was my boss at Prime Ticket Television Network, he was asking Don, so how come you didn't surf the pier? You surfed the pier, what happened? He goes, when he was asked what encouraged him or not encouraged him to surf the pier, and ended up, that person was me. So he was encouraged by me to, if he was wanting to surf at the pier, that he should go down to Golden West and not the pier. So I'm sorry, Don. Okay. So anyway, I'm glad to have been a local at the pier. I'm glad to have been friends with all the mayors that came in, at least since I've been in Huntington. And what can I say? I want to thank some people. Ambassador Jeffrey Davidoff was a good friend of mine. He was the most senior diplomat in the diplomatic corps, and he was a good friend, and he was one of my mentors, as was Donnie Branker. That's what one that taught me how to do events, such as U.S. Open of Surfing. I want to thank PT and Ian. I haven't seen Ian today, but he said he was going to be here. Okay, so let's just say that he's here. And anyway, I thank PT, and I had a lot more people to thank. And our mayor, Don McAllister, he was a great friend of mine, a great friend of the surfer in the surf community here. I think one time my ex, barely. We were out there walking around, and Don McAllister was actually the first mayor that I know that was involved in the trash pickup. Right here at the one side where we had the Golden Bear. He's a great guy, and I think that I was good friends of his. And I got to say something about our mayors. They've always been friendly to the surf community. Yeah, and so thank you. So anyway, before PT drags me off the stage, I guess I just want to say thank you very much once again, and thank you everybody. I had a lot of friends here that came and saw me today and joined me in the facility. Thank you guys. Love you all.
Chewy's Angels!
Okay, next up, somebody that actually used to work in the El Don liquor store in the 1950s and was one of the boys of 55 here in Huntington Beach, the first organized surf club right here in HB. Herbie was a little grown. He was probably like 12, 10. Back in the days when we had the boys of 55. And this guy you can really call a pioneer, and that's Mr. Dick Metz. Unfortunately, those of you who know Dick Metz, at 92 he's still charging like crazy, but he's had a setback with he had to have knee surgery, and he got sepsis, and they had to redo the surgery. So now he's stuck in Aspen, recovering. Tough. He called me on the phone. He said, just get all my friends to go up there and talk story about me. I said, shit, Dick, that's going to be all day. So, if you know a little bit about Dick Metz, of course, he ran the Hobie stores, and then, of course, founded Surfing Heritage with his mate Spencer Kraut. If you want to see the history of surfboards, go down to San Clemente and visit Shaq. So the curator for Shaq, Barry Hahn, is going to accept on Dick's behalf.
Wow, those are some really big shoes to fill, so I'm not even going to try. I wore sandals instead. But Dick Metz is actually 93, and he's the youngest teenager I know. 20 years ago, just a couple of blocks away from here, I was working on my first exhibition at the International Surf Museum. That's back when Natalie and Ann were still involved, a couple of sweethearts, and God bless them. But Steve Pesman said, there's this guy named Dick Metz that you gotta get to meet, get to know, because he needs somebody that does what you do. And I said, I don't know what I do. But I met Dick, got involved with Surfing Heritage. Spencer Crowell came on board a couple of years later, bought a building in San Clemente. We started out with 80 boards. Now we have over 800 boards. But before that, Dick and I shared an office that was actually a closet in an office We had one desk, one computer, 2 chairs. Now we have an amazing collection. I've been blessed not only to know Dick Metz and Spencer, but to meet so many of my idols through the years. Paul Stroud, big inspiration, you know. He lives the life of aloha. That's how we all should live. That's how I try and live. You all know Dick as a huge supporter of surfing. He's had his hand in so many different things. You can read about him in the brochure. I'm not going to bother to mention them all. But he also supports a lot of other really good philanthropic endeavors, things that you would not probably associate with Dick. He gives a couple of scholarships every year to students in Laguna who wouldn't otherwise qualify. But he feels that he wants everybody to have a chance. He supports Save the Elephants in Africa. He also is part of a Project Good that gives out scholarships and awards to other things. So he's a man of many talents, but he will never really tell you about himself. He has all his friends that will do that for him, and I count myself blessed to be among his friends. He's going to outlive all of us. He and Keith Richards will be the last 2 people alive on the planet. But I'm okay with that. Anyway, thank you all. He's very honored. He's very sorry he couldn't be here. But he appreciates the support, and so do I. Thank you very much.
That brings me to Yvonne Chenard. Just this last week, I was in my Ralph's and I bought Time's most 100 influential companies in America. And his company, Patagonia, was named as one of the 100 most influential companies in America. Yvonne Chenard was the first guy, in my opinion, who was environmentally conscious about our world and dedicated his surfing company, which a lot of people go, Patagonia is really a surfing company? Well, yeah, and he loves his surfing. If you want to read a great book, go buy this book here, Let My People Go Surfing, which is about how he runs Patagonia. And the philosophy at that company, it's not about the time clock. If the surf's good, you go surfing. Then if you didn't put in the hours, you come back at night and do that work then. Or you stay there and sleep on the floor till the next morning till you get your hours and get the job done. And it's one of the great books that you can read with a completely different mentality of how to run your company. Yvonne doesn't come out in public too often, and he's not here today because you know where he is? He's fishing in Canada, like he loves to do. But we have somebody here to represent him that's known Yvonne for a long time, a great mate of mine, that was one of the first Californians to come out and try and tackle the Pro Tour. And I'll bring to the stage Sam George.
He calls me his mate now. In the 1980 US Pro in Malibu, I had a man-on-man heat against PT, and he made me cry, literally. That was before they had an interference rule, and he was horrible on that. He could keep you from getting any waves in your heat. And after he did that to me, he was my hero. That's what made it worse. When I got to the beach, I sat down away from everyone, and I actually wept. So, but it's nice that now that we are mates. Listen, it's a real honor for me to have been asked to come and accept this for Yvonne. I remember a number of years ago, I read a story about Yvonne in a magazine. He seemed like a fascinating guy, and it mentioned, among other things, that he surfed. And I thought, well, he's probably one of those guys, you know, he does other things and he also surfs. But I thought I'd really like to meet him, so I set up a meeting with him. I worked at a surfing magazine, and I just ostensibly wanted to do an interview with him. So I drove up to Ventura, and he was very gracious. And I started asking him, well, so I hear that you surf. And he goes, yeah, I surf. And I said, wow, so, you know, how long have you been surfing? He goes, well, since probably like 1957. And I just went, what? Like, wait, when did you start rock climbing? And he goes, oh, a few years after that. And I started realizing, wait a minute, he was a surfer before he became a world-renowned mountaineer and rock climber. I needed to know more about this. I said, so you surfed in the 50s? And he goes, yeah, sure. It was really neat back then. He goes, I remember one day in particular, January 10th, 1959, one of the biggest days of surf that's ever been recorded in the coast of California by surfers. And he said, yeah, I loaded my old balsa board in my car and drove down to the beach at Malibu, and it was just too big to get out. So I drove up the coast, and Ventura, C Street, overhead, too big to get out. I kept driving north. Rincon, I couldn't get out. I go by El Cap, no, it was too big. He eventually snuck past the gate at the Hollister Ranch, drove all the way through, past Big Drake's, past it all, too big, too big, too big. He drove all the way to what we call the warning track, and that's Government Point, just east of Point Conception. Stood there on the beach and realized it's still too big for me to get out. Turned around and drove home to Burbank. And when he told me that story, I realized this is a hardcore surfer, and it really was been one of the great privileges of me over the years to surf a lot with Yvonne, and he proved that to be true. I remember he asked me in the early 90s to come and do a little consulting. They wanted to develop an area of their Patagonia company into the surfwear market. And, after I talked to some of the other people in the industry, they all scoffed and they said, well, come on, they're an outdoor company. As if surfing is done somewhere other than outdoor. They go, what? They're an outdoor company, they're a ski company, they're a mountaineering company. I said, guys, let me explain something to you. When Yvonne started his company, he deliberately put his headquarters 2 blocks from a quality right point break in Ventura. That was deliberate for him. He could have done it anywhere. I go, you get extra credit there if you surf on your lunch break. I went, they're way more of a surf company than a lot of people here in Costa Mesa. So it was sort of an eye-opening thing, and that, getting into the surfer market showed what a dedicated surfer Yvonne was. But really his biggest contribution, and PT alluded to it, was that he really was the first person to steer his company into that area that we now know is green, where you start sort of expressing your environmental consciousness through your product, through your marketing, and through the integrity of your company. And so he, over the years, Patagonia has really, beyond the world-changing efforts that they've made to protect the environment around the world, Yvonne showed through his commitment, through putting his money where his mouth is and where his company is, that along with the high peaks of the Tetons and the granite walls of Yosemite and the snowy towers of Patagonia, he has shown that the ocean is truly one of those wild areas that he has cherished and dedicated his life to protecting. So I think, as quoted in this great profile of him in the pamphlet, no one other than Kelly Slater said, we need a lot more people like him in the surfing world. I'm just grateful that we have Yvonne Chenard. So thank you.
Okay. Time to get a little Australian in the house. This is like back-to-back Aussies from Bondi Beach. I've known, I call them kids. They were freckle-faced groms from Bondi Beach, one of the most famous beaches in Australia. And they both became champions of the world. I remember little Pauline Mensah, this little freckle-faced girl from Bondi Beach. She's what I call a part of a forgotten era that in the 90s, her, Lane Beachley, and Lisa Adams, the whole decade, the three of them won every Bells Beach rang the bell in Australia, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it, but she sent us a killer video that Patrick's going to share with you right now.
G'day, Pauline Mensah here from Australia. So excited to get inducted into the Surfing Walk of Fame. It's been 30 years since I won my world title, and to be recognised now is awesome. Shane Rand, Bondi boy, well done. I'm very stoked to be inducted with you. Huntington has a special place in my heart. I remember when I won there one year, I had blonde hair, blue mohawk, glitter all over my face, and had the crowd spurring me on, and I was very thankful for that support. And also knowing now that a little part of me is going to be at Huntington Beach forever is awesome. Thanks everyone. Cheers.
Okay, we're going to close the show here with a kid I've known since he was called Kid Dynamo. He was this little freckle-faced kid from Bondi Beach. And before I get him up here, you know, we got 3 beautiful surfboards over there that you can bid on. And I think at the moment, they're a steal. So if you're interested in a beautiful new longboard over there, get your name on the bid sheet. So back to this kid from Bondi. Of course, he was a member of the team that we created called the Bronzed Aussies. We ran a set of surf clinics, and one of them was in Bondi Beach, and he won it. And he became the first junior Bronzed Aussie. He was on the team when the Bronzed Aussies won the Caton Pro-Am on the north side in '79. Of course, probably the most important thing was he was the first pro champion at the pier. In 1982, he won the OP Pro with a 360 that rocked the world. He was one of the most individualistic surfers that's ever been on tour. He rode winged keel surfboards and single fins even long after the thruster was here, and was still killing it and winning. So it's my great pleasure to bring Shane Rand to the microphone.
Woo! Had to take the glasses off to have a look. I'll just lift the stand up. I'm not as big as PT. Hey, firstly, I just want to thank all the team at the for the induction today for the Surfing Walk of Fame. I want to thank John Etheridge. He's turned me onto a car this week, and I've had one of the best times I've ever had in California. It's right up there. Yeah, it was fantastic. Also, I want to thank Gary and Wendy Linden. I stayed with them last week down in Oceanside and had the best time down there and shaped a few boards down there. Gary set me up, just made it super easy, and I had a ball making the boards. I just felt right in the zone. Thanks, guys. Also, I got a real close friend of mine here, Richie, and his son River. They've come over. I met Richie over in New York. He's from New Jersey, but he picked me up at the airport on one of my first tours around the world, and we've been mates ever since. Like, he came over to Australia, we travelled around Australia. So, Richie, love seeing you here. Thanks for making the effort, mate. Also, I've got Noel here. Noel's been a big supporter of mine for a long time. We're always in contact. We're always talking board design and can't get enough of it. There's a lot of other people I'm sure I should be thanking up here, but definitely got to thank my lovely wife. She's made this trip just fantastic, Paulina. We've got two beautiful kids, Chicane and Atlanta. We actually named our kid Chicane. She was watching a race one day and she thought, wow, what a great name for a race, that race driver. She kept hearing it right through the race, around the chicane. She thought it was a race driver, so that's how we named our first kid. Surfing started for me. Firstly, I'd just like to say about Jesse. Jesse just opened so many doors for me today, mate. The doors were half closed, but they just flung right open, man. Just like the love of surfing and, you know, just opening the inspirational life and stuff. And we do take a lot of stuff for granted, and we should live each moment. And like coming over here this time, I sort of feel like it almost could be my last time in America. I'm surprised I'm even here now. And and it's one of those. I've been seeing a lot of friends over here. I don't know if I will ever see you guys again. So if anyone that's been a mate or just a supporter, I'm open to say hi and give anyone a hug today. That's our day. So surfing started for me when I was a kid. My parents said, "Oh, we're going to move to the beach," and I went, "Oh, I just hated it. I was a skateboarder," and I was about 9 years old. And Mum says, "Oh, we're moving to the beach," and I can remember running out the back gate, trying to get through this crack in the back fence, and she just grabbed me and picked me up and pulled me back, threw me in the car. Next thing I was at the beach, and then I just didn't even take 5 seconds to turn the corner of where the place I'd love to be. And we lived in this unit. It was right on the beach, and I had this window that just opened like this. It was a funny kind of window. You couldn't see through it. It was like all almost frosted glass. But I used to open the window in the morning, at night, and I'd leave it open. And first thing I could see when I opened up my eyes in the morning was the wave at the reef. I'd be on my pillow and I'd just go, and the first thing I'd see is breaking waves coming into that was what I grew up with, and that's how I fell in love with surfing, and that's how I have that unity with the ocean. It's like it's as good as my blood. It's the same. And from there, I just kind of got right into just the whole sort of scene of surfing. And I remember paddling out one day, and I thought, wow, if I got a cent for every hour I was in the water, I'd be rich. And then from then, I just went into being a pro surfer and then getting paid for pro surfing, and then came to California. PT brought me to California when I was a kid, and it was just amazing. Like, you coming from Australia, we're like country bumpkins compared to Americans. You know, it's like there's not many people there, and anyway. I come here and I was like, wow, like walking up this street here in Huntington. This is the first place I came when I came to America, except for Hawaii, which I love Hawaii. I lived there for 20 years. But coming here and walking up this street and going into George's and having a sandwich at the back of the shop, and then walking up on the pier and looking over at like guys surfing underneath you, and I'm just going, wow, how's this? Like, just everything was just blowing me out. And the cold, you know, it was so cold. It was the Nancy Caton contest. It was like, I'd never been that cold, ever, you know. It was just like, it was brick cold. And I met Nancy Caton, which was insane, because, like, to me, they were like the first board short company, and and I don't really know the history of all that, but and then there was a couple of surfers were drinking coffee. Like, I know this sort of sounds a bit weird, but in Australia, like, I don't even know if we even had coffee, but, you know, and I go, there's this surfer guy, he's in the contest in the Catons, and he's had like 2 coffees. He goes, oh mate, I have 4 coffees before I go surfing. And I went, whoa, and this guy was so revved up, and I knew nothing about coffee. I didn't know it revved you up. And so that was sort of my intro to Huntington. And then, you know, I came and spent a lot of time here, and I started sort of practicing like the 360. And a good mate of mine, Preston Murray, he said, mate, you got to, when you do a 360, you got to kind of get right up the top, and so you just, as you throw it, the tail will drift around and you come around. And so I went back to Australia and I was practicing, and finally I got it. And I probably was one of the first guys, if not the first, to start doing the 360 in Australia. But there was guys over here, I remember Mike Purpose and Buttons, and there was a bunch of guys already, you know, doing it. You know, but they were the guys I'd seen do it. And so then I started to get the 360, and then we had a summer here, and I was here with a guy called Ali Kai. I'm looking at John Palmer there. He was part of that whole crew. We were just, that was John Palmer with me. He was just like an animal. But, yeah. And we just had the best summers. Like, we were young kids here in California, and all we wanted to do was surf and be better than each other. So we'd hit the water and we'd be just going for it. So surfing's changed for me now, and I'll get to that. But we were just going hard at it and trying to do 360s and trying to just throw spray so you knock the guy off his board, and we were just going at it. So then we come up to like the OP Pro, which is the main reason why I got this award. Is, you know, they give it to world champions, but they also give it to people who have won the OP Pro. And so the night of the OP Pro, in the finals, you know, I had the worst sleep. I don't even think I got to sleep. I was so nervous. I just don't even know why. Just some contests, and I've won a few contests where I didn't sleep. You go to bed at 7 o'clock at night and you just toss, turn, close your eyes for 2 hours and you're still awake. And so I turn up at Huntington, and it's just these conditions. When I was a kid at school, I used to look in the surfing magazines and I'd see California, and I'd just go, like, the conditions were just like glass, so the best surfing conditions you could ever see. And I just go, wow, I'd love to go to California one day and just ride one wave in that nice glassy conditions. So I turn up at Huntington that day of the finals day, and the conditions are just clean. They're like that out of the magazine. And I'm just falling in love with the place. I go, wow, how good is it? And I go out and I just catching the waves and just having the best time. And I'm in my heats. Like, I didn't even feel like I was in a contest. I was just wanted to get on these waves and carve on these nice, clean surfaces. And anyway, I get through all that, and then the condition, like that, got through those, and then the conditions started to turn a little bit onshore. And I come up against Sean Thompson, and I just feel like there's a lot of support going for Sean here, and so there should be. He's one of my idols and heroes when I was growing up. Did a lot for tube riding and stuff. And Sean, so he's got a lot of support, but I can feel a lot of support from me, from my crew, from us. You know, like we're wanting it. It's us that want it. And so I get it. I sort of get emotional. Yeah, so I get out in the final starts, and I'm against Sean, and he's kind of waxing me at the start. Everything's going his way, and I've got Preston Murray's up on the thing, and he's telling me that the waves are here and there, but it's closing out. It's really hard to pick, and he's sending me here and he's sending me there, and he's going, this is the one, and you take off, and it'd close out on you, and you go, oh, what's going on? He's going. So anyway, finally this wave puts me into this wave, and it's a horrible wave. Things closing out, it's left. And I've been doing backside 360s for probably 2 months. I probably had it down 30 to 40%. I could do them. The other 60, I'd just blow it. And no one, we were all just, it was new to all of us. And anyway, so I'm going across this wave, and it doesn't look good, not for a 360. And I just go, I gotta go for it. And I just throw it up onto the lip. I still remember this wave so clearly. And I just throw it up onto the wave, and I don't quite get it right. And I just force it around, and I kind of around like this. And then I just feel myself free fall, just boom into the bottom. And I've fallen, I've gone, I'm gone. And I've just done the power crouch, to just try and make it. And then all of a sudden I've come out of that. Yeah, thanks, PT. I've come out of that, and then all of a sudden the crowd just went, rah, just the loudest roar. I just came out of my skin. I just went, wow, like this is just it is one of the most amazing feelings ever. Like the whole crowd were behind me. They flipped over, and it was like, and I just raised my arms, and I just knew I had it right then, and that is when I fell in love with Huntington Beach. So I got just one last story. I got into big waves. Look, there's so many things. I want to say this too. Duke Iper's here. Ben Iper came to me in a dream about 3 months ago and just sort of helped me out with my shaping of surfboards. And Duke and I have been sort of sending back messages for years now. I just wanted to say a big aloha, and I really miss your dad, and I miss Hawaii. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time in Hawaii, and I was at Jaws, and they're having the first big wave event there, and my mate and I, we get up, and I have a couple of those in the morning, and he's having Red Bulls, so he's going that way, I'm going this way. I just want to say hi to David Nueva too. He's one of the first guys I ever met coming over to America as well. I met you in New Jersey. I remember we were over there for a contest. It blew my mind because I remember seeing him in surf movies on the fish. And it was in David Weaver in the semi-final. Aloha, brah. Cool. Yeah, so back to it is, getting into giant waves in Hawaii. So I'm surfing Jaws. They got the big wave event. We turn up at Jaws in, I think it's called Maliko Bay or something, and we turn up, and all Laird and all these guys, they're all parked up the back, and I'm thinking, like we've all been up since like 3 o'clock in the morning because we knew we were getting the biggest swell in the history at that point. And so I look up, and I said to my partner, I said, let's go, there's no one on the ramp, let's just do it. Everyone's out the back. So we get up on the ramp, we're pulling the jet ski off, and I'm sort of half asleep, like it's in the dark. I'm getting out of the car, half getting out of the car, and so I getting out of the car, and as I look, there's this like 10-foot wave coming over the ramp. And I look at the wave, and I just jump straight back in the car. I look out the back window, my mate's getting the the jet ski off, like the ropes off the jet ski. He's jumped up on the jet ski. The jet ski's gone, the water waves washed us up onto the side of the mountain and let us come down. We have this funny thing where we call ourselves the A-team because shit like that happens all the time, right? Jet ski drops off the ramp, something, so we just go, that's a good A-team move, isn't it? So we get it, we go like with our tails between our legs, we drive over to where everyone else is, and we park, and anyway, we go through this big ceremony of wine. He says, look, this is the biggest I've ever seen it. He was a kahuna, and he blesses everybody, and we get out there. And while we're out there, it comes around to my heat, and we've been looking at the buoys all night long, and I'm in the first heat, and the buoys are going to peak at 9 o'clock, and my heat's at 7. And anyone who surfs giant waves, we know the hour that the biggest wave of that swell is going to come. We're on it. And I knew the biggest waves were going to come at 9 o'clock, and I was pissed off because, you know, someone else was going to get that hour. Contest got called off for 2 hours. Started at 9 o'clock. So, anyway, we're out there, and you do this rotation with the priority. And I've got Garrett McNamara, and I had the other guy from Brazil. He was doing really good, never even heard of him, still don't remember his name. But red hot surfer, and that's not being disrespectful, I just got a bad memory. So I take off on this wave, and probably a lot of you have seen the picture, you know, and it's got skip marks down the face, and I'm not like a windsurfer where I can just float off and float back on and float off and float back on. I'm like, hanging on like this, hitting these chops, just make the bottom of the wave. As soon as I get to the bottom, I fall, bang, and just get monstered, like murdered. And the jet skis, when you're out of jaws, the wipeout is horrendous. You feel like you're going to die each time, and you know, I'm surprised nobody has died out there yet, because it's no different to Mavericks or a lot of these big waves. You get tossed and turned. So I get my guy that I've got is a German guy, Robbie Seeger. He's a big, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I see him coming in, and I put my hand up, and as I put my hand up for him to pick me up, I get pulled back down in the turbulence. I got no air left. I've come up, I've got one breath, and then all of a sudden I'm going down in the turbulence, and I feel my hand's underneath the water. I feel his hand grab my hand, and he just picks me up. So I'm facing backwards. He's driving forward. All right. So he's driving forward. He's picked me up, and he's just holding me in the air and driving me out of the break. Right. And we get out of the break. I get on the back of the jet ski, and stars are just going. And they have a doctor in the water, right, to make sure you're right. We're in the middle of a contest. And I can't see anything. I can just see. Anyway, we go over to the doctor, and the doctor said, you know, are you all right? He can see I'm not all right. I'm not all right. Right? And I look up at him, and the stars are starting to start to mellow out a little bit. And I go, yeah, I'm all right. And he goes, all right, get out there. So I get out there, and I'm trying to come down off this experience, and I'm sitting there, and it's my priority, and the waves are coming, and that big wave still hasn't come. And I would have probably, if I was okay, I probably would have used my priority. But I sat there for like 30 minutes trying to get over that wipeout, and then the biggest wave of the day comes. It was massive. And as I sort of just took off, and rode that wave, and I was free falling down the face. There's nothing big about this part of the story. It's pretty mellow. So I just ride the wave, get to the bottom, and kick out. And then later on that night, we're all together, all the big wave riders. We're all sort of together, and then the lifeguards come up to me. You know, Jesse mentioned them earlier. You know, they were on hand the whole time, ready to save our lives. And the lifeguards come up to me and go, "Man, Shane, you caught the two biggest waves of the day today. They were phenomenal." And I'll finish on that. That was the wave of my life.
Okay, you guys, that brings to an end the induction day for 2023. Some really great stories been told today. Next year will be the 30th anniversary of the Surfing Walk of Fame. We now have over 200 people on the sidewalk of Main Street, which, if you think about it, is pretty incredible.
Good to see you, buddy.
And we'll be here next year with a whole new class. We'll see you then.
Thank you, PT. Thank you, Surf City. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming out today. For those of you who know and you already have a wristband, we're having lunch where we have our one of our partners, Dukes, is catering lunch for us across the street. So if you know you're supposed to be there and you don't have a wristband, you got to either talk to me or Glenn Drummond. Thank you, Surf City.
Hi, Jake.
I just want to say, if you want to learn more
Chewy!
about the Big
Hold your
Mets,
award up!
great movie out called
Chewy! Where's your award?
Playing in theaters now.
Where's your long hand, bro?
See how
Get
Dick
your
gave
hippie style, bro.
inspiration for the greatest movie ever, The End of the Surf.
No, you don't.
Thanks, Gary. Can I have all of our board of directors up here? All the board of directors up here on stage.
Yeah, I'll see you over there.
Do I still get to interview you, Shane?